Rolling.
I'll ask the question again. Is collaboration always a good idea or the right thing to do?
Not necessarily, but I think it depends on...
I'm sorry.
Let's start over again.
Redo. I
Throwing her.
my hand.
Rolling.
I'll ask the question again. Is collaboration always a good idea or the right thing to do?
Collaboration is sometimes initially the obvious thing to do because of the nature of the situation. But I believe that it's important for the person who's charged with the decision or who finds themselves in this position to step back and analyze the situation and to find out whether all the right pieces are in place and you understand the full dimensions of the problem. Sometimes in order to know whether collaboration is the right thing to do, you have to bring some additional people into the discussion to be sure you have the problem that you're addressing properly specified. And then you can decide how much of people's time you need to do. And so I wouldn't say it's always the right thing to do, but dealing with complex problems, there's rarely one person who can tackle the whole situation. So I think in more cases than not, it probably is going to happen someplace along the spectrum of solving a problem that you're going to have to engage the relevant parties, whether it's another scientist or scientists or it's stakeholders and people who have management responsibility. So.
It's fine. It's rolling. So go ahead.
I'll ask the question again. What are the benefits of approaching coastal management this way? Think in terms of process and short-term.
When we approach coastal management with the understanding that there's probably going to be some collaboration at some point, and we're looking at the trade-offs in terms of time and effort, and we think, well, the short-term outcomes aren't so important, but sometimes they are. Let me give you just a quick example. Recently, in the Exeter River watershed in Great Bay, in the New Hampshire arena, there has been a question about whether one of a historic, almost 400-year-old dam has to be removed, or whether the investment should be able to made to renovate it. Well, the dam removal issues are always very sticky, and in order to really inform the decision-making process, the team that was working on the project decided that they would engage the public to identify the questions that needed to be addressed in the study that would be ultimately put back on their table as citizen decision makers to vote upon whether they're going to take it out, or fix it. And so the short-term investment was made by the town to spend the time to plan a workshop and engage a whole arena of stakeholders. They held the workshop, about 150 people turned up, and they were asked what were the issues that they were concerned about should the dam be removed. And the public came up with all kinds of upstream and downstream and very complex questions that reflected a pretty sophisticated understanding that wasn't necessarily being represented by the group that was charged with the responsibility of putting together the request for proposals. And the commitment was made to use the input of the public to inform the request for proposal. That was done. It took a while to do it right, And the right consultant, fortunately, was finally selected to take that information and take those questions and issues, and they are now at work developing the answers to them. And then down time, probably 2 years in the future, there will be a need to make some decisions. But the public's going to be involved at a couple of other points. And I guess the answer to that is that's in a relatively short term. The long-term consequences are going to involve significant community investment over whichever decision is made. So that's a short term, and the longer term will be how will this affect the health of the river and the estuary. And so that was, I thought, a really good investment of resources near term to hopefully make things better in the long term.
So that was an excellent example. I'll say rolling.
One of the benefits of thinking a little bit short term, especially if you have a calendar that's a decision calendar, and you know when people have to be able to make decisions about the investment of resources, and this is tax dollars. So local people in New Hampshire vote every spring. And in order to make an intelligent decision that they, based on information that they trust, they need to understand that they've had input into the design of the study, and that they're consulted periodically, so that when they have issues over cost, for example, they identified that if they were to take the dam out, 2/3 of the water supply for the town will go away. They will not be able to depend on it. That means they're going to have to be able to invest in the development of new wells. And they need to have a trust in the accuracy of the data on which they're being asked to make that decision, because it's going to involve significant tax dollars. They also want to be sure that it's not going to interrupt the recreation and tourism and the historic district visual aesthetic views that about which they're concerned. And the thing that we've learned in that region is if people trust the decision makers because they've been transparent and they've engaged whatever concern and expertise there is, they're much more likely to arrive at a decision point where people are going to be willing to make an informed decision. And I think that the investment of time and trouble is well worth it if you can foster a process that results in a decision that people can feel good about and that they understand the economic implications of.